All right, the goal today is to finish the rest of the livery, and then while I'm doing this, printing some more spot graphics for a company that just paid the invoice. They're gonna drop it off in the morning. We're gonna knock that out, get it back over to them. The printer and laminator are already set up with car wrap film that I'm gonna use to make the spot graphics. I was really adamant about getting that done before switching the laminator around, because the storefront we're gonna do, we're using a matte laminate and a different type of material. The media that goes in the printer isn't too much of an issue. It's setting up the laminator that's always an issue, and this is probably my weakest point of my company besides the turnaround time with some projects. So laminators are a little tricky. I'm not going to go through how to set them up, but depending on the type of material I use, this thing needs different tensions and it needs to be set up in different configurations. It's usually either the roll unravels this way and pulls up on itself, or the way you see it, or the opposite. And typically you have to have tension on it. As you could probably tell, I'm a little tired, just been going non-stop. You know those SEMA bash videos you watch where people are working to the last second of every day just to get the project closer? That's kind of what's going on here, but I'm trying to knock out all the projects I can to be able to leave without really worrying about it and getting customers their stuff back. Anyways, so I'm gonna sweep the floor up, move the Evo into the middle of the shop, because Alex is gonna show up and do the final videos, and hopefully we get this knocked out. Hopefully we get the other stuff printed, and I think I'm going to try to knock out one of these printer vans today too. But I still need to set up all the files and the printing for the storefront. It's going to take about 280 square feet of material, probably 6 to 10 hours of printing, laminating, prepping. Anyways, stay tuned. So if you watched the episode before this is why I didn't place the snowflakes yesterday, because it was more important to place this and then strategically place the other snowflakes because of size ratio and things of that nature. This was going to be way too far over compared to the rendering. What you saw me, you probably didn't see, but there's some remnants of it. So there's this thing in our industry called knifeless tape. It's basically a tape you place underneath vinyl, and then you could cut the vinyl on top of it without scratching the car. So I treat every project like if it was a P1 or like an SVJ or like an Enzo. So whenever I do work on fancy cars, I don't get intimidated. And what I did here to have very, very clean cuts, I ran knifeless tape along this body line, and then I placed the vinyl and I ran knifeless tape along this body line as well. If I was in a crazy time crunch and I'm doing, let's say some sort of race car or something that's thrashed, I don't mind running my blade, but I always try to eliminate times where I'm gonna run my blade on the paint, just because I mean, we're human, mistakes can happen, but that's what was going on here. So I placed knifeless tape, like I said, you can see the remnants, and then I ran knifeless tape right on the inside of this in a very uniform fashion. Granted, I could have probably put the vinyl down and just trimmed it, but then it wouldn't have a clean finish. Same with this. So I cut this by hand only because this gasket it moves, right? Let's see. This gasket moves so much. Same with this. So I could have ran knifeless tape here, but I didn't. But this is why I wanted to stay away from putting the final snowflakes down until this important piece was on. This side's almost done. I just had to put 2 snowflakes up here and then a few more snowflakes, and this side will be pretty much complete. Besides the wing with the Bridge City logo. And I'm gonna do that at the end because I'm just kind of superstitious. I do like those kind of finishing touches after the project or after I'm finished. Mikey was cool enough to let us put the name on there. Yeah, I think it's a nice clean finish. It's not, this thing doesn't have sponsors, and that part will kind of blend in. Typically a price for a job like this would probably set somebody back $4,500 to $6,500 bucks. I know you guys are probably wondering why or how. I spoke about it in a previous video, and it's because there's so much time involved. But overall, we're getting there. I mean, it's halfway through. The other side is really just matching this and doing a good job. Then we got to do the finishing touches on the hood. I think Alex is supposed to be here in about an hour, half an hour to an hour. I'm stoked on how this is coming out. It looks very, very aggressive. It looks really cool to me. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, if Mikey's stoked about the rendering and then seeing it in person, I think he doesn't know I'm filming any of this, so maybe I'll get his reaction. I've had people cry when they've picked their cars up after doing liveries, and it's almost more rewarding than getting a huge tip. So, I mean, I've had customers that tip, you know, 30, 40, 50%, which are usually hundreds of dollars. And as much as I appreciate that, it's almost the emotional part that lasts with you forever, right? Anyways, I'm gonna keep moving forward, keep chugging along. I'm actually a little behind with my scheduling today because Alex was gonna stop by, shoot final touches, but I probably have another 4 to 6 hours of work to do on the other side and the hood. So we'll see how that goes. As you saw in the time lapse, I finished the passenger side of this thing. Jared came back and my buddy Alex, who's shooting the video for me, just showed up. The game plan here is to finish about 90% of the driver's side and the front, and Alex is gonna get final shots for the video he's shooting, and then he's gonna leave because he has a business to run, and I'm gonna stay here and finish the rest of the delivery. I'll show you guys the progress. All the small details and placements I'm extremely happy about. I'm very happy that I made different size snowflakes because things do get cluttered, especially on a smaller car like this. But I think everything looks up to par based off the rendering. I am stoked on this. This came out extremely clean. In fact, a few people stopped by for other projects we were doing and wanted some of these, so maybe we'll make some extras just for the winter. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so I made a rookie mistake. I set the camera up to time lapse, but I didn't hit play. So I didn't time lapse a lot of this, but I was just positioning them to track stuff down. And in fact, I went back to the computer because I was gonna reprint this section because I couldn't find it. And then I kept looking at, kept matching each side. And it turned out this was flopped with this piece. So they look very similar. This was in place. I was trying to match this to the quarter panel piece. And then I started looking at cut lines, which these are cut lines. And then I went back to the computer. I remembered fixing this, the artwork here, and knowing for sure that I printed it. So I found that. Now, as much as this is extremely difficult to match render-wise, some of it is always skewed because it goes from a 2-dimensional rendering to a 3-dimensional object, right? Whereas, like I talked about in other videos, you got to follow the curvature, you got to place vinyl accordingly to get a clean outcome. Matching the other side, almost like a traditional Japanese livery where it's mirrored most of the time, it adds another level of difficulty, because this, I mean, you kind of get in the ballpark of, oh, the rendering sits like this, blah, blah, blah. Now you got to make sure the other side matches exactly to this. And almost 90% of the time, body panels are not identical. So in this case, for example, the lip down here sits kind of different than the lip down here. Your fender might be gapped slightly different. Your headlight might be gapped slightly different. Your flares might be skewed. So I've been on that one piece that sits on the bumper and the fender for about an hour now, and I barely started putting vinyl down. I don't have the time to show you guys the technique here. Maybe you could pick something up with the footage I shoot, but I'm resorting to placing it where it matches on the other side and then doing relief cuts to manipulate the vinyl to sit very similar to the other side. Sure, there's probably a different technique to do this, but this is how I'm going to do it to get the desired outcome that matches the other side. With that being said, it's about 9 p.m. I'm not going to leave until most of this is done. I have 2 more days to finish this and get it over to the customer, but I also have 4 big projects that I need to finish. My buddy Alex, that's shooting the video for this, he left because he has his own businesses to run. He did get more content. At least he got a finished shot, but there's a few more things we're going to do to get the final shots for the video. And thankfully for him, I'm thankful for him, he's going to come back one more day, shoot maybe half an hour, or take half an hour to shoot some final shots of the car, and then we're going to pass the car back to Mikey and move on with the other projects we have going on. I'm just showing you guys all the different things we're dealing with so you kind of understand how far into detail we go. Maybe it's just my OCD that causes things like this, but I don't want to slap shit together and pass it off to the customer. I guess keep watching. I'll stop and communicate as I see fit, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. All right, guys, so it's about 1:15 a.m. I think I'm gonna just wrap it up, go get some rest, and come back in the morning